Good evening to you all. I am Dr. K. Pushpam, Postdoctorate Assistant Professor. Today we are discussing about the role of social movement in continuations. The first movement is Chipko environmental movement. The next moving on Narmada Pacho Antlan movement. This movement started in 1985. The Narmada Pacho Antlan movement was another grassroots level movement against the environmental, social and cultural damages which would result from Narmada Valley Development Project. The project envisaged the construction of 30 large dams and over 3,000 medium and small dams on the river Narmada. The dams would submerge hundreds of villages and displace over 250,000 people. 250,000 people. The NDA means the Narmada Pacho Antlan movement argued that the benefits were exaggerated and the damage underestimated. The movement highlighted gross violation of the riparian rights to tribal and peasants, environmental degradation, and the failure of the government to provide for adequate rehabilitations. Like Chipko, this was also movement of the ordinary people in the rural areas to have the right to control their own forest land, water and other natural resources and to preserve the environment that supported their livelihood. Next, moving on, women's movement. Women's movement in the pre-independent India focused largely in issues of justice and equality, particularly women's suffrage. But from mid 1970s, women's group initiated numerous nationwide campaigns with a specific focus on legislation to address many issues of concern to women. Some of the prominent issues were sati, dowry, dowry deaths, sex discrimination, uh, test, domestic violence, sexual harassment, and child prostitutions. These are the issues will be discussed through our women's movement. Some of these campaigns led to public awareness first and later espousal of women's concerns by major political parties. According to Shah, women's movement in India can be divided into three waves. The first wave comprised social reform movements that began in the 19th century and the mass mobilization of women for freedom struggle. The second wave, beginning the late 1960s, involved issue-oriented political movements. Women joined hands with peasants, environmentalists and industrial workers against price rise, deforestation and poverty. This period also saw the emergence of women's social organizations such as the Self-Employed Women's Association in Gujarat and Women's Working Forum in Tamil Nadu. The third wave, which began in the mid 1970s, had a definite feminist agenda which was inspired by the National Report on the Status of Women, which highlighted the deplorable gender inequality in India. Adverse sex ratio, gender gap in education, high rates of infant and maternal mortality, and increasing deprivation of women. The third wave, therefore, saw the emergence of numerous autonomous women's groups, goal oriented but not necessarily linked to political parties. This period also was marked by the founding of several women's groups such as All India Democratic Women's Association, All India Women Conference and National Federation of Indian Women. In a recent book titled Indigenous Roots of Feminism, Jaspir Jain argues that feminism must be understood in the social and cultural context. Throughout Indian history, especially during the Bhakti movement, women have asserted themselves and challenged the patriarchy. In stories and legends, women like Saundala and Kannagi, through brought up in strict patriarchal exclusion, fought for their moral rights and put the kings of shame. Yet Yet, she claims that women have not been visible in our history and their role has been ignored in the Dalit movement aimed at fighting social justice. Next, moving on, caste oriented movements we will discuss later.